Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and I'm going to be talking about the planets this month on tonight's show. There is so much going on in August. July and August are probably the biggest months of 2018, and we're right in the thick of it. So what I'm going to do on tonight's show is talk about what's going on planet-wise, and then I'm going to go through each of the 12 signs and give you all your monthly forecast, because there is just so much happening. I thought I should take a step back and give you an overview of what is going on and maybe some clarity and understanding of these intense planetary influences and energies that we have at this time. So, of course, we are right in the middle of the dreaded Mercury retrograde. And probably not the middle. That's probably wishful thinking. The middle, let me just looking at my calendar here. I should be counting the days because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop around this Mercury retrograde. Now, if you are a Leo, then this is all for you, because Mercury turned retrograde in Leo. If you're also a fixed sign, another fixed sign, and that's Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, you might be dealing with this retrograde more than most of us. So, Mercury turned retrograde. Let me just look at that one. Mercury turned retrograde on July 25th, and it will continue to be retrograde until August 18th. So what we can expect, some communication snafus, misunderstandings, or reviewing or revision from the past. And that is, if you are a fixed sign, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, or you have any planets in fixed signs, this is relevant for you, although Mercury retrograde does affect all of us. We also have this month, Mars is still retrograde. It has been retrograde since the end of June, but it will finally turn direct August 27th. It turned retrograde in Aquarius, and then it's going to be continuing its retrograde motion, which means it appears to be traveling backwards. And then on August 12th, it will continue its retrograde motion into Capricorn. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And if you are a cardinal sign, and that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, this will be affecting you more so, or any planets in cardinal signs. If you also, for the fixed signs again, Uranus is the planet of the unexpected or the unpredictable. It will be turning retrograde, and that is happening on August 7th. And the fixed sign, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius may be affected, especially if you're born early in the sign. Things might go unexpectedly backwards for you when Uranus turns retrograde. So we also have a solar eclipse, and it will be the final eclipse of 2018, and that is occurring on August 11th, and that's happening in Leo. So there's a lot going on in Leo at this time because, we are in the month of Leo, or the season of Leo, I should say, because, the sun moves into Virgo on August 22nd. So we're mostly Leo and partly Virgo. And so we've got this giant energy going on the 11th of this month with the solar eclipse, and that's occurring in Leo. So what solar eclipses mean, they're typically super intense, supercharged new moons. And new moons are all about new beginnings or new paths. And so before we can have that new beginning, we need to have an ending. And we have a new moon every month, typically. And we have although this year, before I just say that, I know this year there was one of the shorter months. Now I have to think through it, and it's going to drive me nuts until I remember which month it was. But it must have been February, because it's such a short month anyway. No, we had our solar eclipse in February. But there was a month, yes, I'm thinking of the full moon. So in February, we didn't have a full moon because we had two full moons, which included a lunar eclipse in January. So what that means is I was about to say typically every month we have a new moon and a full moon, but very, very occasionally we will have two full moons in a calendar month, and of course the second full moon will be called a blue moon. And then I was remembering that we had two new moons, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, there were two. Yes, we had two full moons in January and two full moons in March is what I was thinking about. So that's a little bit unusual and uncommon to have like a blue moon, especially in January of this year when it was a blue moon lunar eclipse, which is, the eclipses in the astrological world are always a really huge deal. They're one of the biggest influences that we have regularly, which is twice a year, and eclipses typically come in twos or threes. So, and also through August, what I'm going to be talking about just in a minute in more detail, but I just want to give everyone an overview. We have this incredible, amazing trine with Jupiter and Neptune on the 19th in the water signs. So if you are a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, this is great news for you. This is a time when spirituality, psychic abilities, and creativity will be heightened. So it's a great time to get out there and show your skills or use your skills. And then on the 25th, we have this amazing grand Earth trine, which I've been talking about a lot in a lot of my readings. I keep seeing that coming up lately, people being affected in a really positive way by this grand Earth trine that's happening on August 25th, and it involves the Sun, Saturn, and Uranus. And if you are an Earth sign, and particularly if you were born in the beginning of an Earth sign, this is fantastic news for you. And this, the Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And then, of course, we have a full moon. Like I said, we have a new moon, full moon, typically every month. So we have a full moon on the 26th. That is in Pisces. And then, as I said before, on the 27th, finally, Mars, the planet of action and assertion, turns direct. So things can start to move forward. And it turns direct in Capricorn, and that's really great for any sort of long-term plans or long-term ambitions. Oh, did I mention that Venus will be moving into Libra, which I'll talk about when I'm going through the detail. On August 6th, Venus, planet of love, will be moving into a sign it really, really likes, which is Libra, because, you know, the planets have their favourite signs and their not so favourite signs. And luckily for us at this time, Venus really, really likes Taurus and Libra. So Venus will be moving into good news. So just going through a little bit more detail with the overview, and then I'll get into the forecast, the monthly forecast for each of the signs. So it seems like with August, it will be a roller coaster because, you know, there's some good stuff and there's some intense stuff, and then there's a little bit of challenge here and there. But really, overall, you know, we're dealing with stuff. A lot of us, not just the fixed signs, but a lot of us are going through transition and transformation. You know, 2018 is the year of change. And, you know, for the fixed signs, which I've talked about a lot this year on a lot of the shows, the fixed signs, you know, it's very hard for them to make change. So there's going to be a bit of a shake-up if you have any planets in fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius. It's time to sort of be a bit more flexible and maybe change course or steer yourself in a new direction. So the good news is that, you know, even though August does start off with a bit of tension and potential drama, and I'm really looking at August 1st, which is really Wednesday, when Mars, which is retrograde, forms yet another challenging square to Uranus. Now, if you remember, you've been listening each week, on May 15th, Uranus, the planet of the unpredictable, change signs. And, you know, anytime an outer planet changes signs, it's always really big news in the astrological world, because the outer planets, and I'm talking mainly Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they don't change signs very often. And so Uranus changes sign every 7 years. And so Uranus moved into Taurus May 15th of this year, where it will be for the next 7 years. And so it was really big news. I'm sure I made a big fuss about that. If you didn't listen to the show that week, be sure to go back into the OMTimes archive and have a listen. That would have been the May 14th show that I talked about Uranus moving into Taurus. And so Uranus, as I said, is a planet of unpredictability and in some ways unreliability. And moving into Taurus, which is a completely different energy. Taurus is a very stable, steady, solid sign. And so when you couple up those two, it makes for even more unpredictability, because it's sort of like, what could possibly happen? Taurus is also the sign of money, and, you know, it rules the financial markets. So that's the first obvious thing that may be occurring with Uranus in Taurus. Now, the thing that made it even more, what's the word? Not even unpredictable, but I guess volatile. That made it even more volatile is at the same time on May 15th, on the same day, Mars, planet of action, moved into Aquarius. And so Mars and Uranus immediately were at odds with each other, because they were forming a square, you know, Uranus in Taurus, Mars in Aquarius. So there's two fixed signs, Taurus and Aquarius. And not only that, Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. And so it was at odds with its own favorite sign, if that makes any sense at all. So it was at odds with its own favorite sign. And so since May 15th, there's been this battle going on in the sky between these two planets, and then Mars turning retrograde, which actually had it moving backwards, so then it's going to be squaring up to Uranus once again, and that's occurring this week, and that's happening on Wednesday, August 1st. So Mars retrograde will be forming a very challenging square to Uranus, which is just about to turn retrograde. So you've got these two volatile energies when they're at odds with each other. And it's all about, you know, Mars being retrograde, which I've been talking about a lot over these past few weeks. Mars retrograde is very much about frustration and impatience and wanting to move ahead and wanting to implement new plans and get new things going. But when it's retrograde, it's like we can't take the steps or the action that we want. And that's especially if you're an Aquarius, because Mars is currently retrograde in Aquarius. Now, it is forming yet another square, the second square to Uranus, and that will be this week on August 1st. So August starts off, as I said, with a roller coaster of different types of very important transits and influences. But, you know, it starts off with a bang with this square with Mars retrograde in Aquarius to Uranus in Taurus, which is about to turn retrograde as well. So typically when a planet turns retrograde, it's very much about redoing something or reviewing or redoing. So retrograde, if you think of any words that start with R-E, that's always a good use of any type of retrograde period, especially with this very, very challenging square between Mars retrograde and Uranus nearly retrograde. So there's a lot of positivity coming, but it's just like we've just got to start off with this explosive, potentially angry energy between Mars and Uranus. And especially if you are a fixed sign or you have any planets in fixed signs, this is all about looking for compromise, because digging heels in at this time is no longer working. It's like, you know, the responses that we may get from being stubborn or not wanting to see someone else's point of view have the potential to backfire, but like in a really big explosive type of way. And then, of course, we've got a square between the Sun and Jupiter, and that's on August 6th. And so what that means is, when I said potentially really big explosive energy, Jupiter is typically known as the planet of luck and good fortune, but I'm using a negative keyword because it's part of a square. So the Sun, which is the core of who we are, it's our it's what sustains us here on Earth. You know, and in last week's show, I dedicated the show to Leo. So I talked a lot about the Sun, which is the ruling planet. And we know the Sun and Moon technically are not planets, but to keep things simple in a very complex system, astrologers define the Sun and Moon as planets. But the Sun is actually a star, the Moon is a satellite to Earth. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. So, that's good timing, actually. We will take a break, and then I will continue with the planetary energies for August, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research and innovations from New Thought teachers, speakers and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on?
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and I'm talking about the planets this month, and that is August. Yes, can you believe that we are looking at August already? On Wednesday, we will be celebrating August 1st, which, has anyone heard that August 1st is the horse's birthday? And the horses means all horses. So I remember when I was a kid, August 1st was always the date that all horses had their birthdays. And that just popped into my head, which is sort of weird because, you know, August 1st is in the month of Leo, and maybe December 1st might have been more appropriate because the sign is Sagittarius for December 1st. And the symbol of Sagittarius is half horse, half human, the centaur. So maybe that might have been appropriate. But anyway, August 1st, horse's birthday. Happy birthday to all you horses out there. So the planets this month. Just before the break, I was talking about, really talking about the Mars-Uranus square that's been going on since May. And will continue. That Mars and Uranus are doing this like challenging, I don't know if dance is the right word, but it's sort of like, you know, it's a very volatile energy. Mars is retrograde, Uranus is about to turn retrograde. And just to add fuel to this fire, on August 6th, there'll be a square between the Sun and Jupiter. And Jupiter is typically known as planet of luck and good fortune. But in this case, because it's involved with this challenging square, Jupiter is now known as the planet of excess. So, you know, we've already got this volatile Mars-Uranus square on the 1st, and then on the 6th, the Sun will be forming a square to Jupiter, Jupiter being the planet of excess. So it'll make this challenging energy of Mars, Uranus, and now Jupiter, Sun. And, of course, we're facing the solar eclipse on the 11th. So it'll make it even tougher to control our emotions. But, you know, the good thing is what's happening on August 6th, as well as the square from the Sun and Jupiter square, we've got love planet Venus moving into Libra. So this is happening on the same day as this Sun-Jupiter square, and that is that's next week. Wow, it's so quick. I keep thinking it's all further out into the future, but it's like we're facing it. We're facing all this energy like right now. So with love planet Venus moving into Libra, it might control tempers a little bit more because Venus in Libra is very diplomatic. Venus in Libra is certainly the people-pleasing placement, so it might help to calm things down. But, you know, but these other energies are so much bigger than Venus in Libra. So we'll see how that goes. I think any little bit will help with these very, very intense and volatile energies. And then, as I mentioned, Uranus will be turning retrograde. That is the next day. So that's on August 7th. We've got Uranus, which just moved into Taurus on May 15th. And so that's going to be turning retrograde until January. So Uranus will be turning retrograde in Taurus, and then it will continue its retrograde back into Aries. So if you were born in the sign of Aries, or a cardinal sign, fellow cardinal sign, the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and you were born at the very end of any one of those signs, you know, just be aware that with Uranus retrograde, it's going to be forming a challenging aspect or influence to your sun sign. So be prepared for anything that is unexpected that comes from the past because of that retrograde motion there. So it might force many of us to face our fears in an unexpected or unanticipated way. Then we have this new moon solar eclipse on August 11th, and that's occurring in generous Leo, which brings a much more positive influence, but it's still very, very intense. And, you know, new moon solar eclipses are not always positive. It can go either way, and of course that will just depend on where that falls in your natal chart. And if you don't have your natal chart, or you don't know where the planets were when you were at the time of your birth, go to my website, theastrologer.com, and get a free chart wheel. And each week on the show you can follow along and see where the current planetary energies, how they are affecting each of your planets. It's really important, and that's way beyond a sun sign. So astrology, you know, sun signs are great places to start, but there's so much more to astrology than just a sun sign. So we've got this very intense solar eclipse that's happening on August 11th, and that's happening in Leo. And solar eclipse is a new moon, and that's when the sun and moon come together from our perspective here on Earth. So if you're a Leo, again, you're not only being affected by this Mercury retrograde, but there's a very intense solar eclipse, which indicates it's time for new beginnings. So new energies, new beginnings. Think of new directions. It's time to move forward in a whole new way. So as I said, Mercury turned retrograde. It's going to be in Leo for the whole retrograde, and it turns direct on the 18th. And then on the 19th, so there's a bit of big sigh of relief when Mercury turns direct, which is about 3 times a year for 3 weeks each time. So on the 18th, Mercury will turn direct, and then on the 19th, we have this incredible Jupiter-Neptune trine, which will bless many of us with enormous abundance and creativity and compassion. A lot of our psychic or intuitive abilities will be firing with this type of influence. Jupiter is currently in Scorpio, Neptune is in Pisces, and if you are a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, or have planets in water signs, this is fantastic news. It's a really, really nice, compassionate energy, and because it sits right in the middle, this trine will sit right in the middle of the of Scorpio and Neptune. It's like it affects all the water signs and everybody, all water signs, not just anybody born in the beginning or the end. It's like it's right in the middle. So we're getting a good boost from this Jupiter-Neptune trine, which is really, really fortuitous. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've got this amazing grand Earth trine, which is happening on August 25th, and it's occurring between the planets, the Sun, Saturn, and Uranus. And it's in very early Earth signs, and the Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And if you are born, if you're an April-born Taurus, an August-born Virgo, or a December-born Capricorn, this is fantastic news for you because a grand Earth trine is extremely, extremely fortuitous, and it's really, really great for money and also for being grounded and feeling stable and solid and steady, and really it puts us on really good footing. So we've got the Virgo Sun, Saturn in Capricorn, and the Uranus in Taurus, even though, yes, it's retrograde. And Saturn is too, by the way, as part of this grand Earth trine. It's still fortuitous. Yes, it would be better if Saturn and Uranus were not retrograde, but still, we will take what we can get. And retrogrades are not always bad, really bad, especially when it's in the mid to outer planets, such as Saturn and Uranus, and that's because, the outer planets are typically retrograde for nearly half the time anyway, so we're always dealing with some sort of outer planet retrograde. So with this grand Earth trine on August 25th, it's a highly constructive and very positive energy, and we can all move forward with this type of energy. It's sort of like this is the time to count our many blessings with this grand Earth trine, and especially 2 weeks after the solar eclipse in Leo on the 11th. And so then we have, just moving towards the end of the month, on the 26th of August, there's a full moon. Yes, we're done with eclipses after that until 2019, but there's a really nice full moon in Pisces, early Pisces. Fantastic for the water signs, and that's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And especially if you were born early in the water signs, then this is a really spiritual and creative energy. So, and also just to boost things along, the 25th, we've got that grand Earth trine, this really highly spiritual full moon on the 26th, and then the 27th. The good news is that Mars finally turns direct in Can-Do Capricorn. So it's sort of like we can all breathe a sigh of relief because things are starting to look up. We've been tested and challenged throughout the summer, the Northern Hemisphere summer, and so now it's time to finally start putting, one foot in front of the other. So it's sort of like, it feels like there's a promise of like good things to come with this type of energy at the end of the month. And then, early September, Saturn will turn direct finally. So, I've had a lot of people asking me that, there's been challenges with authority or discipline or taking care of responsibilities. The load will lighten at the end of August with this grand trine, and then Saturn getting ready to move forward once again, because it has been retrograde for far too long. So now I'm going to move on and give you the breakdown for each of the 12 signs, sign by sign, and what to expect in August according to your sign. So I'm going to start with Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. And so what you need to be really careful with this month, at the very start of the month, of course, is to keep a calm head over your finances, because the Mars-Uranus square on August 1st may highlight how a lack of funds might be holding you back from some of your dreams. So this might be causing some frustration because, Mars is your ruling planet, and it has been retrograde since the end of June. So there might have been, for many Aries, many Rams, there might be a lot of frustration and unexpected things that have been coming up these past couple of months. It might be better to hold blame and sort of realize that this is a testing moment and a test of patience, I guess, is one way to say it. But, even well-meaning interventions from friends and family might make things worse for you. And that's especially when the Sun squares Jupiter on August 6th. So, but, the best thing is try to be as gracious about it as you can, because the bad feeling could possibly spread into your personal relationship on August 9th. And that is when Venus squares up to Saturn. So Venus, will just move into Libra on the 6th, and then it will form a square to Saturn, which is currently in Capricorn. So just sort of take 3 deep breaths, take a step back, think before you speak. I know with Aries that's hard because Aries is a very impatient sign, but with your ruling planet retrograde and squaring Uranus, and then Venus in your opposite sign, which represents your relationships, and Saturn being in Capricorn, which is all about the long term and what you want for the long term. So it's important to really find some sort of physical outlet to release the built-up tension and frustration. It's going to be really important in the beginning of August. But the good news is that, love planet Venus is in your house of love. So it's important to realize that your relationship really is a priority and worth fighting for. But the pressures will start to ease around the 19th. And, of course, when Mercury turns direct, for all of us. And then there's this amazing trine between Jupiter and Neptune. So that helps you go higher and find your inner determination and focus. It helps you to seek insight from your spiritual self, and perhaps, you're getting messages from the subconscious or from spirit. So the answers to your problems are there. It's like you just simply have to tap into it. And then, of course, the Grand Trine on August 25th is about improving your prosperity so you can achieve your goals. So there's a spiritual influence here as well, and that's with the Pisces full moon on the 26th. So you can think materially, but it's really important at the end of August to use your psychic gifts and intuition, which will help you along the way, as it does with all of us. And the good news is, the really, really good news for August for Aries is once Mars, your ruling planet, turns direct in your career zone, and that's on the 27th, there won't be anything that will hold you back. And I know that's music to your ears, Aries. Taurus, so for you for August, don't be surprised if you feel a little lost as August gets underway because of the powerful and volatile Mars-Uranus square on the 1st, which will highlight your sense of identity and your self-esteem. So you may be feeling maybe a little bit inadequate or as if you're unable to live up to your potential. And there could be some frustration, wanting to take a step forward, but not being able to. But, unfortunately, friends and family effort to support you may backfire because you're not emotionally equipped to deal with their attempts to jolly you along. And that's especially around the 6th with that Sun-Jupiter square, which also, it just amplifies everything that's going on. Be careful of resentment with this energy, and especially, around family members. I think that's time for a break. So stay tuned, and I will continue with your monthly forecast.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and I'm talking about the planets this month, and yes, that is August. And just before the break, I was talking to you, Taurus, with the solar eclipse on the 11th, it's going to be falling in your family zone, which means there's a new path or direction around your family. So maybe healing and forgiveness. And, of course, once Mercury turns direct in the same zone, in the family zone, and that's on August 19th, it's like, you know, you may reach a fresh and positive new understanding with any family members maybe who have been unfair to you or you haven't spoken to in a while. And then, of course, with the magical Jupiter-Neptune trine on the 19th, it really highlights your blessings in a personal relationship and within your friendship circle. You might be feeling really inspired at this time. And, of course, the amazing grand trine on August 25th with affecting all the earth signs. So it's like finding your path or your calling and following it. So there's something to really look forward to at the end of the month. And, of course, you know, and with Mars turning direct on August 27th, that's in in your travel or philosophy or higher learning or even legality zone. So it's all go from there. Gemini. So the events at the beginning of this month, they highlight your own shortcomings and failures. So try not to feel too battered and bruised or downhearted about it, because, you know, things really pick up towards the end of August. So it's going to be really important for you to keep a sense of perspective because, you know, nobody is perfect. That is probably one thing to remember. So, of course, we're all going through the difficult squares at the beginning of August, but try not to be held back by your fears. Sometimes it might feel like you're afraid to fail, so you give up even trying. But there's like a nice influence with Venus arriving in your, let's call it the daredevil zone on August 6th. And that encourages you to take a few leaps of faith and show that moving out of your comfort zone can actually be a really good thing. That's also boosted along by the solar eclipse on August 11th. You know, it might put you in a circumstance where you're forced to come up with the goods, and then you're proving yourself that you're more capable than what you thought. And, of course, you know, Mercury turning direct, that's also really helpful. It really increases the common sense around you, and then you'll be wanting to spread your wings and really sort of fly off. And then the trine between Jupiter and Neptune on the 19th, you know, might have you feeling a lot more inspired than what you have done in a while. The grand trine on the 25th, it will put you in touch with your past and show you that past fears and failures, they're just learning curves, and we should welcome rather than have moments of shame and things we'd rather forget. So when it comes to your career especially, confronting your fears head on will dissolve them completely. So the end of August is definitely something to look forward to. If you are Cancer the Crab, life may seem a little unfair as August gets underway. There could be some resentment surrounding you, and that's, you know, around this Mars-Uranus square this week. You might even feel that others have an advantage over you because of maybe their wealth or their personal situation. So, you know, this sense of emotion might even surprise you. Just be really careful around August 6th when the Sun squares Jupiter. You might be feeling a little bit angry or emotional about something to do with your past or your upbringing, especially also with the Venus square on August 9th. You know, so there's a lot of really challenging influences at the beginning of August. But hang in there. The solar eclipse on the 11th, that's going to occur for you in the house of money and finances. And then with Mercury turning direct in that same zone of your chart, it's going to highlight, you know, personal values, self-esteem, money, possessions, you know, new beginnings around these areas for you. And then, of course, with the Jupiter-Neptune trine on the 19th, you might find yourself, you know, having a lot of compassion for others, and then really realizing how truly blessed that you are. And then, of course, the grand trine on the 25th, this energy for you will be about improving the world, and a willingness to work with others. And you're such a really great caretaker and nurturer anyway. This will come very easily to you. You know, and the touch of humanitarianism around the full moon on the 26th, and just caring and compassion and tuning into your own instincts around what you need and what others need. Leo, this month, your birthday month, it's what might trouble you the most is your work-life balance as the month starts off. And, that 10th square with Mars and Uranus this week on the 1st, it's sort of like how much time you spend working versus how much time you have with your family or your sweetheart. So work obviously is an important source of pride, to you, but your family may be struggling to see it that way. So it's really finding that life balance there. And, of course, the other square with the Sun, your ruling planet, and Jupiter on the 6th, suggests that family members might have an unrealistic expectation of you at this time. But hold on, because the solar eclipse on the 11th, that's in Leo, and it helps you to get your thoughts in order on what you want for the future. And then, of course, Mercury, thankfully, will be turning retrograde on the 19th in your sign. So communication and being articulate is going to be so much easier than what it has been for the past few weeks. And then, of course, the amazing Jupiter-Neptune trine on the 19th surrounds you with love and support from others. The grand trine on the 25th is perfect for streamlining your work processes, and that's when you may find, a better home-work balance. And so we've got the Mars turning direct as well. So this is also, it's like being able to finally move forward. If you are a Virgo, for you, stick to your principles this month, and good things will come at the end of the month. You might be feeling some pressure this week with all these really gnarly squares, but take a stand now. And, with Venus arriving in your value zone next week, don't get involved in anything that's not completely above board, even as tempting as it might be. And then with the solar eclipse, what's going on for you is your intuition might be supercharged at this time. And then, of course, Mercury, your ruling planet, will turn direct on the 19th. And so something becomes really clear to you, and always take the high road. And so then, the amazing trine between Jupiter and Neptune on the 19th shows that you are strongly supported and blessed. And then the grand trine in your sign, lucky you, it's like things come to you more easily than before. And then, of course, Mars turning direct in your passion zone on the 27th gives you a cause to fight for something you really want once more. Libra, for you, interesting month for you. There's intrigue, jealousy, passion, deceit. That might make quite a potent mix as the month starts. So you need to keep a very calm head, which you're pretty good at doing anyway. It's going to be like a heady swirl of emotions at the beginning of August. And somebody might be pushing all the wrong buttons on you. And explosive anger is really not your thing, but it may be with all this type of planetary activity. And then be careful when Uranus turns retrograde on August 7th. Don't be surprised if you find yourself dwelling on something from the past. But the solar eclipse on the 11th really sweeps in fresh air and a more objective point of view. You can put your emotions to one side and just get on with it, because, then the really good energy starts coming with the trine between Jupiter and Neptune on the 19th. It strengthens your resolve to act honourably and kindly. And then, of course, use the energy of the grand trine on the 25th within your personal relationships and extended family, perhaps. So it's like, all the drama can be sort of behind you as Mercury and then Mars turns direct. And Mars turns direct in your family zone on the 27th. So this is a really helpful energy for dealing with sort of troublesome in-laws or family members. Scorpio. So the first couple of weeks could be a very testing time for you, as it is for many of us, but for you especially in your love life. So it's like don't get caught up in, as I just said, don't get caught up in the drama, and sort of, take a chill pill in some ways. And then, the first half of August is definitely very testing. But, gentle Venus will move into the most vulnerable part of your chart. So that really helps with your emotions and really dealing with others in a really nice way. With the eclipse on the 11th, it's like you understand, you might gain clarity or peace of mind around your identity and where you fit within a relationship. and don't, and sort of just find the compromise or find common ground. And of course, Mercury turning direct really helps defend yourself and has peace of mind, and also you can speak your mind at that time. Lucky you, though, with that Jupiter in your sign trining spiritual Neptune on the 19th, it's really, everything's going really well from there. And then, of course, the great energies of the Grand Trine on the 25th. It's sort of like good things are coming your way. It's just about having patience. Sagittarius, you are such an adventurous sign, and you don't do very well with boredom. So the August energies, they initially are rather stagnant for your sign. Everybody else is sort of reeling from the intensity. But, you might be frustrated because there's not much going on for you. So that will change, of course. But if you're bored with your job or bored with your neighbourhood, bored with your friends, maybe even lacking some motivation, but take care that this irritation doesn't spill over into bitterness. And it's, this is not the fault of those around you, so just remember that. But, you never stay negative for too long. But once Venus does arrive in your friendship zone on August 6th, you'll get your mojo back, step by step, slowly. And then the eclipse on the 11th brings completely fresh and invigorating energy, and it could suggest some important travel opportunities because, yours is the sign of travel. And so with the Grand Trine on the 25th, work with your sweetheart to plan your future. It's a really, really constructive energy for you, Sagittarius, for your ambitions, your finances, and your dreams. But it's important or imperative, really, that you work together to share a vision so that you have a shared vision. And then there's good news related to money around August 27th when Mars turns direct. And it's sort of like you might feel like you can finally take a deep breath and a step forward. Capricorn, August energies are about taking a risk or two or three. And as a general rule, you don't really do risks, but you do tend to forget that every risk is also an opportunity, and without that risk, there is no possibility of change. But arguments about your unwillingness to give something a go are likely on August 1st with that Mars-Uranus square. And maybe you might feel like people are pushing you to make a decision, and you're just not ready to do that quite yet. And it is okay to take your time over these things. But, in your heart, you might know that, others are right. So you may miss an opportunity, though, if you don't take action around August 9th. And that's when Venus squares up to your ruling planet Saturn. But it's okay because, Mars is retrograde. So it's sort of like damned if you do and damned if you don't type of thing. So it's okay because, with the solar eclipse on August 11th, it's all about brand new beginnings and really big beginnings. And you know that you want change. But, August 19th, there's another opportunity. Mercury's turning direct. We've got the Jupiter-Neptune trine. That might be a better time to make decisions for you. And then, of course, the Grand Trine that involves your sign and the other Earth signs is absolutely fantastic for you, Capricorn. So at the end of August, and then, of course, Mars turns direct in your sign at the end of August. So things will finally move ahead. Aquarius, for you, Aquarius, sometimes the past just won't lie quietly. And then as August gets underway, there could be some issue relating to your roots or the past that's stirred up. There could be some upheaval, and you might have to reflect on your relationship, on your career. It might be a little bit difficult. And then, of course, Uranus, your ruling planet, turns retrograde in your history zone. So you might be sort of prompted to confront these challenges head on. And, things from the past, it might be time to lay it to rest once and for all. And with the eclipse on August 11th, the solar eclipse, it occurs in your love and partnership zone. And so this might be new beginnings in your relationship this month. And then, of course, Mercury turns direct in the same zone, so you can speak your mind within your relationship. And then the grand Earth trine on the 25th, it will continue the theme of forgiveness and healing from the past. And just remember, it's your current values which define you and nothing from the past. And, your sign is a natural leader and teacher, and then Mars will turn direct in your spiritual zone. So you might be feeling a lot inspired by the end of the month and very different to how the month started. And finally, Pisces. So much of what you do or say in August is likely to be maybe taken out of context by someone else because of this Mercury retrograde. There could be some secrets around, and you're under pressure to keep them or defend them, much against your better judgment. There could be some anger, with these really hard squares, beginning of August. And then love planet Venus arrives in one of the most secretive areas of your chart next week. And you might have to find like a tactful or honourable way of letting the cat out of the bag. But whatever you do, you have to put yourself first. And then the eclipse reminds you on August 11th that your own well-being has to come first. Health and well-being are going to be really, really important. And then when Mercury turns direct, August 19th, you're free to speak the truth. And, of course, the grand Earth trine is really great for your relationship. And that's it from me. Thank you for joining me. That was the planets this month in August. Wishing you a great month, and be sure to tune in to the astrology show next week.